you done now?
Now, who had access to the candlestick?
All of us.
It was given to you.
Yeah, but I dropped it on the table. Anyone could have picked it up. You, him.
Look, we still have all these weapons. The gun, the rope, the wrench, the lead pipe. Let's put them all in this cupboard and lock it. There's a homicidal maniac about.
I think that's a good idea.
What are you doing with the key?
Putting it in my pocket.
Why?
Well, to keep it safe, obviously.
That means that you can open it whenever you want.
But it also means that you can't.
But what if you're the murderer?
I'm not. But what if you are? But it's got to be put somewhere. If I've got it, I know I'm safe.
We don't know that we are.
I have an idea. We'll throw it away. Good idea.
Good idea.
Wonderful. Right away. Brilliant.
That'll do it.
Sorry. Sorry.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Clue the Movie Podcast, where we break down the 1985 cult classic movie Clue. 1 minute at a time. We are 41 minutes in. My name is Brad Gilmore. I'm joined, as always, by Jeff Smith, the director of Whodunit, the Clue documentary, which will be available at the time we're recording this, or at the time people are hearing this, tomorrow.
If you are listening to this on Monday, August 7th,
1985. Sorry.
2023, hang on, because in just a few hours on Tuesday, August 8th, 2023, Screambox, which is having a deal right now, by the way, as well. So if you really don't want to commit, it won't cost you much to commit. It's okay. But yeah, get Screambox and then stream. Or if you really want to be crazy, you can buy it and own it for as long as there's an internet.
In perpetuity.
Yeah, which is my nightmare. Because I have a very large movie collection just sitting there in an Apple TV box.
I know.
It can go away at any time. But it's on Prime. It's on iTunes, and probably torrent at some point. It'll be.
Yeah, you could probably
bootleg.
get it illegally on your favorite streaming site. But what we want you to do, we want you to scream and stream. That's what we want you to do. Go to Screambox.
Yeah.
Get a membership and then stream. Scream and stream Whodunit, the Clue documentary.
You should be working for them.
I should be. And that's not
excellent.
a paid read, by the way, which it could have been.
The only other thing I thought that was kind of clever ties with Clue is there'd be a slap for Mr. Greed and say, "I will not stop your screaming."
Ooh, look at you, man. Look at you. Well, look, we want to give a big shout out to Laker Jim, who joined us over the last 2 weeks, and the Laker Jim Fletchcast, which I believe is about to release brand new episodes. We actually got, by the way, just for everyone here, we got the sweetest email from Laker Jim detailing something that he told us about. We heard, Jeff, the original score, what was going to be the original score to Fletch. No one else has heard this except for me, you, and the Fletchcast guys.
And the composer.
Well, and the guy who made the music, and people who made the movie. But yeah, that's besides the point.
And rejected it.
Yeah, and they went with Axel F. Fire. But good call though. Good call. I like the music, but good call. And before we move on into the minute that was minute 41, because there is a lot there. There's a lot there to talk about. I wanted to highlight a couple of reviews that we got, and here's a tease for you. We've been in contact, and when I say we, I mean Jeff has been in contact with Jonathan Lynn over a couple more theories that we wanted to run by him, and guess what? We got confirmation, maybe, of a couple things.
Yeah.
As much confirmation as Jonathan Lynn gives typically. But the first thing I want to do, I want to read this great review that we got on our Apple Podcast page. It is from another Cluvian, and the title is As Fun as the Movie.
What?
5 stars, by the way. And here's the review.
The movie or the podcast?
The pod.
Hey.
Here's the review. I have been listening to this show for several months, now expecting the format to become unsustainable due to the cult nature of the film and the slow pace they give themselves, 1 minute at a time to go by. Every week, I find myself pleasantly surprised by how much fun these guys are having doing the show and also how entertaining their banter between each other. Look at that. While they do sidetrack a lot, they always bring it back around, and their sidetracks are always very entertaining and clearly about something they are passionate about. A couple of thoughts to add for you guys. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
First thing, the joke, there was one joke a little earlier in the film that you guys got stuck on, and I think I can help clear it up. This was Colonel Mustard's joke about Kipling. I think it's worth revisiting because maybe the most important / revealing line about who his character really is. Also, maybe his funniest joke in context.
Whoa.
Wait, hold on now. 1, when he says that he prefers Kipling, then quotes, the female of the species is more dangerous than the male, this is a historical joke. The joke is that Kipling was famous for his poetry, but Colonel Mustard is not quoting his poetry. He is quoting The Jungle Book, i.e., trying to look intelligent when he really isn't. 2, The Jungle Book is a children's story. This also plays on the later joke when he says he lost his mommy and daddy. So they're saying Colonel Mustard is mentally a child, really. I can get on board with this. 3, he likes the quote because it's how he feels about women. Hence his later constant denials of knowing Miss Scarlet and being in somewhat of fear of her the whole movie until he is forced to come clean. 4, Kipling wrote a lot about war and soldiers and would have been very popular in the early 1900s. So Colonel Mustard, who is actually in the armed forces, but we don't know that in that part of the movie yet, is revealing that he actually has some sort of military background. Okay, so first, what do you think of this Kipling revelation from another Cluedo?
Well, I don't feel smart. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I feel real dumb right now.
Another Cluevian, but I'm glad you are. So yeah, I like it. I can't argue with you because, again, not smart. I can't come in and go, with my Kipling knowledge, I disagree. So sure.
Now, I'll be honest. I remember we Googled Kipling early on in there. I don't remember anything that I learned about him in that Google session. Do you?
No, but Mustard did.
But Mustard remembered something, and it's interesting that that is a Jungle Book quote.
Yeah. How excited he must have been years later when the cartoon came out. He was only like 10 years away.
He must have been amped. He must have been amped to see Mowgli and Bagheera and Baloo. What great names, by the way. Yeah, that's a really interesting thing to reveal that, hey, I'm a military guy, perhaps. I have the mental capacity of a child. Cluevian, really, that's what we call deep dive.
Indeed.
That's a deep dive. Now, we have something else here.
That's the first thing, right? No, there's a second
That's
thing.
the first thing. This is the second thing. Brad, you mentioned how well you can hear their footsteps earlier. I do remember talking about this. I have always felt the sound effects are really placed forward in the sound mix intentionally. Ooh. My suspicion is that it's because it's 1954 and they want the movie to sound like a radio play. If you turn off the screen and then listen to the sound in this movie, 90% of it still works / makes sense incredibly well. Wow. Jeff, in your interviews, was there anything that came up or that you could confirm regarding the sound mix?
No. So that makes sense, and that's good for us because we just listen to each minute of Clue every week, and I agree. Every once in a while, you'll get like grunt, 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 but that's kind of fun too. So yeah, that's an interesting theory as well. I think another Cluevian is on another level.
I almost feel like another Cluevian should come on the podcast.
Yeah,
another Cluevian seeing things that we don't
have
see.
Another Cluevian's own podcast by another Cluevian's self.
Yeah, yes. And if that another Cluevian launches another Clue-based podcast that Cluevians can listen to, then that Cluevian will be the dominant Cluevian in the Clueniverse.
Well, another Cluevian is deadlier than the original Cluvian, to paraphrase Kipling from The Jungle Book. I just heard that somewhere.
Oh,
That's
right,
from
right.
The Jungle Book.
Right.
From The Jungle Book.
Well, everyone knows Jungle Book 2. You know what the name of the book is? Do you know what the name of? Do you know what the sequel to Jungle Book is called?
No.
Another Jungle Book. And right now, you don't know if I'm making that up or not.
I think you are.
Oh, I definitely am.
But there was another 48 Hours and another Stakeout.
I was trying to think of another 48 Hours and another Stakeout. I knew there was a movie like that. So thank you to Cluvian, another Cluvian, for that. That was an awesome review. We really appreciate you listening to the show. Big shout out to you. Make sure you continue to spread the good word about Clue the Movie Podcast. But guys, we're not done yet. There's more to break down. I'd say let's go to, before Jonathan Lynn, let's go to the other theory that we got sent to us.
Okay, I have this one. This is from Bruce Eliasson. Bruce automatically starts with, I'm behind. But it's okay, Bruce. But Scarlett's late arrival. Oh, somebody obsessed about this. And his name is Brad Gilmore. Scarlett's late arrival to find Mr. Body's body missing could be because she sees Yvette in the hallway where she just killed Mr. Body. And Yvette tells her about the secret passage in the freezer where in the first ending she would have stashed the cook. That's how Scarlett knows about the secret passage she uses later to kill the motorist.
Wait a minute. Okay. Let me, because I have this too. I think I might need to read this with you so that I'm not lost. So, Body's could be missing because she sees Yvette in the hallway where she just killed Mr. Body, and Yvette tells her about the secret. See, this, what do you think about this? Now that this is possible.
I think everything that we've seen in the movie so far really, really, really sets up the ending where Miss Scarlett and Yvette are in cahoots.
Yeah.
And they're the killers more than anybody else, because in ending number 2, Mrs. Peacock's doing all the work by herself. And I find that very hard to believe.
Even though, you know, it does set up for her at one point where she goes to pout to her nose. You know,
she's gone, but
and then she's late to show up to the kitchen.
She's late to the kitchen. She's not in the billiard room at all with Yvette. So that's presumably where she's killing the cook. But yeah, I think that all makes sense that they're checking in whenever they get a chance. Hey, did you get the cook? I did. And FYI, secret passage.
I think that makes total sense. And that's probably, not even probably, Bruce, I think that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. So thank you for sending that in, Bruce.
Good eye, Bruce.
Now, we also have one more before we jump into the meeting. This is from Jonathan Lynn. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
This is from the director of the movie. You became the director of the documentary about the movie that you interviewed the director in. But we emailed him, we meaning you. And
you take a lot of ownership for some of my stuff, which is fine. I don't care. I don't mind. So this all sparked because for weeks and weeks we've been discussing, is Mr. Green really Mr. Green? And Laker Jim jumped on that theory as well, as I recall. He's like, you guys are right. And anyone that I've talked to that listens says, yeah, you guys nailed it. I think John Hatch was on board with this, the writer of the Clue book. So I finally abused my privilege with owning Jonathan Lynn's email and emailed him and just asked him, is it Mr. Green that's in the house, or is that an FBI agent in place of Mr. Green? A plant, if you will. Jonathan Lynn responded at 5:59 a.m.
Whoa.
On this date, which I don't see, but it was right after. It was like the day after we recorded with Laker Jim. And he said, Mr. Green, I wish I could sound like him. Jonathan Lynn, not Mr. Green. Mr. Green may have been an FBI agent in the other endings. Because I asked him, is he an FBI agent in all of them or just the one where he reveals himself? Mr. Green may have been an FBI agent in the other endings, or he may not. I don't think it is said that he is at Hill House in place of the real Mr. Green. He might be the real Mr. Green. It's a mystery, isn't it, Jonathan?
Oh, God dang it.
That's it. That's it.
Do you know how incredibly infuriating yet awesome that email is?
I just want to point out that Jonathan Land just wrote our own private mystery story just for us. He didn't know he did it.
He did not
just
know he did it.
Responding to an email, but we just got a Jonathan Land original.
You know what's interesting?
It's the mystery of Mr. Green.
Is I've since learned, since starting this podcast, that Jonathan Lynn is a lawyer or has his law degree, went to law school, is an attorney. It seems like this might be news to you as well. I learned this in a commentary of My Cousin Vinny. And
that makes sense.
After learning this, the way that he answers questions, especially when put on the spot, makes so much sense.
Yeah, it does not commit.
Because attorneys don't commit and they're evasive about a direct question. Right? I think this is the reason we don't get a lot of answers out of him, but the answers that we get are incredible. Like if we were in trial, for Clue the movie, and he dropped that on us, like if we say, is that the real Mr. Green? Tell me the truth. Instead of you can't handle the truth, he would say, perhaps it's Mr. Green. Maybe he's an FBI agent. I don't think it was ever said that it wasn't Mr. Green. It could be him, but I'm not sure. What do you know? I don't know.
Right. And then we would just look at him and go, okay.
No further questions.
No further questions. Exactly.
Or we'd stand at the back of the courtroom with a tape measure in our hand and say, how many fingers am I holding up?
Are you sure? I'm positive.
I think I need thicker glasses. Let's talk about minute 41 of Clue the movie. Why not? So this starts off with them putting the cook's body on the couch, and Professor Plum is interestingly placed in that particular scenario, and it ends with the motorist's arrival, the first person that we've seen in this movie in about 35 minutes-ish outside of
arrival,
outside of our main cast. So let's start let's start with Professor Plum. Is this just to play on his joke of being a creep?
Yep, I think so. I think
because he places his hand on the backside of the cook who isn't alive.
The cook, and he's stuck next to Mr. Body, but I don't know. He kind of deflates in the position. Like he doesn't seem too happy about it. He's just there.
Do you think that he's perhaps almost sick to himself? Like, oh, I put my hand here, and then I realize that this is a woman, but she's not alive, and now
they are dead. It's true. That we finally found where Professor Plum draws the line.
He's got a line there. Yeah.
2 corpses. Everything's not fine.
Everything's not fine. And then we get into Colonel Mustard. Now, I know the legend of this movie says there's only one improv in the film, which is the flames on the side of my face, which we haven't gotten to yet. And I know that when we do, it is going to be the most listened to episode of the show. Guaranteed. Bar none. Guaranteed. But when Mr. Body's eyes are open and Colonel Mustard starts talking, and then he closes Mr. Body's eyes with his fingers and then continues to talk. Like, maybe that's scripted, and I know we have the original shooting script, and I'd like to actually look through that from John Hatch, because I don't know why you would script something like that.
That he's in the middle of having a speech, and then he notices that Mr. Body is staring at him.
Right.
I could see why you would think that, because they do cut just to that one super close up, and it could be that they afterwards went, oh, I like that. We better get a quick close up of his eyes staring up. Because then even when he closes it, they don't cut back to it. It's that long shot where he continues talking. So I wonder if that's just how Li Ving decided to be dead, and they went with it. It could have come out in rehearsals. I think even Flames on the Side of My Face came out in rehearsals. It wasn't, start rolling and off she went. I think they rehearsed. Well, it depends on which actor you talk to. Because Michael McKeon said they did not rehearse, and Christopher Lloyd says they rehearsed for weeks. So, again, it's a mystery. But
I assume they did rehearse.
And that is something that came up in rehearsal. But it's fine.
I'm looking at the original production script from 1984, the original draft rather, and I'm trying to find exactly when this goes down. So let me search through here. By the way, shout out to John Hatch, excuse me, for sending this over, because this is great. So let's see here. We have
His book's coming out November.
It is.
Pre-order it now.
Now let me ask you: Have you done your pre-order?
Yes, I did.
You did. Okay.
Finally did, because I know that I will be at least in the state of California when it comes out. That was the only reason I did not pre-order the book before, is because I didn't know where I was going to be living, and now I do. So I feel safe that I will be in the state of California in the month of November, and the book will find its way to me.
The book. I cannot find this on the fly. I should have prepared better.
It's going to be around page 41.
Around page 41? Oh, are you saying because it's a minute?
If you go by a minute.
Now, while I look for this, let me move on to my next point here. Wadsworth then says, look, we still have all of these weapons. We have the gun, the rope, the wrench, and the lead pipe, which means we don't have the knife or the candlestick. The knife is still in the back of the cook, right?
Yes.
So as far as we know, the candlestick is still in the hull?
Yeah. I don't think they brought it in with them. So it dropped on Wadsworth's head, and maybe they put a candle in it. Does it come back? I don't think so. That's it. Because the other weapons are the ones that are used for the rest of the movie. The candlestick has served its purpose.
Candlestick's done, man. It's over.
Yeah, they don't double down on weapons. Everybody gets a shot. Literally. Although that's not true. Mr. Body gets shot, but not really. And then Singing Telegram Girl gets the gun for realsies. And the door gets shot, and the chandelier gets shot. But other than that, candlestick goes away, and the wrench. And I like to call it, he refers to it as the lead pipe, too, because that's what it's called in the game. But you probably want to do that in real life. Can you hand me that lead pipe?
So I've found the script here, and then we'll jump back into the weapons. This is on page 55. I'm going to start here with Colonel Mustard. Colonel Mustard says, "Put the corpses on the sofa. The men are too dazed to do anything." Colonel Mustard prompts them. Colonel Mustard, ladies first. The men put down Mr. Body's body, and the ladies lift the cook onto the sofa. Okay, so this is all in the script and what made it to the screen. Yvette, how do we do this? The dagger will go further into her back. Okay. Colonel Mustard, tip her forward over the arms. They do so. Colonel Mustard, now Mr. Body. They haul him up on the sofa next to the cook. Panting, they stand back. Colonel Mustard, now, we know she was killed with the dagger, and he was killed by a bash on the head with the candlestick. Then Professor Plum says he was dead already. Mr. Green says, you can't prove that he was. Professor Plum says, you can't prove that he wasn't. Colonel Mustard silences them, and then they go on to lock everything up with Wadsworth. So it
is not in the script.
At least in the original draft. In the original draft, the body's eyes being opened was not in the script. That really feels like an on-the-set thing.
Yeah, and I wonder now if the Professor Plum, the business of him getting stuck between the bodies on the couch was too, because you didn't mention that either.
It's not in there either.
Yeah.
So this seems like something that came up. And again, I feel like in any filmmaking or any creative endeavor, there are things that you script out, and then when you get there, you go, oh, hey, but what if we did it? Oh, wait, we could do. And
especially in a room with very funny people.
Who, are well armed comedically to think of what's funny. And
now I like that even better. I like that joke even better, thinking that it was just leaving as Mr. Body's just staring up at Martin Mull, and he doesn't want it.
Doesn't like
enough of that.
Enough of it. So the idea behind locking the weapons up is to prevent any further killing.
Right.
Right? And Wadsworth is the keeper of the key, as it were. And
yes. And it has Michael McKean has a few of my favorite line readings, and this is one of them. That it's a weird thing to quote, but I like that he says, "Where's the key?" And he says, "In my pocket." and he just goes, "Why?" And I don't. It's very like James Cagney kind of delivery, but I like that.
Why, Shay?
Then
Why?
we go into why? Why do you have the key? And then we go into Mrs. Peacock's costume by Michael Kaplan. That hat comes to play in this scene because those feathers just get in her face as she tries to get up and say that you could be the murderer. And this is another scene where it's fun to watch Madeline Kahn because she watches Mrs. Peacock try to get those feathers out of her face, and she watches her with disgust. And I think this is also the shot where Mrs. Peacock accidentally touches one of Mrs. White's breasts when she's moving around, and Mrs. White recoils at the contact. She makes it very obvious that she's been touched, which was probably an accident, but Madeline Kahn went with it. Speaking of physical things that probably were just come up with during rehearsals or on the set.
Right. Yeah.
What are you doing? I'm watching you, and you're either reading or where are you right now?
I was looking through the script a little bit forward to see if there was anything else. But here's my other thing regarding this, Mrs. Peacock. That is, there's another moment that I was wondering: is it real or is it Memorex? Was it scripted or was it not? That's what I was trying to find. Now, again, it doesn't look like a lot of I don't know would you call it. We wouldn't call it stage direction in a screenplay. Yeah. Was that what it would be called? Stage direction? Yeah. There's not a whole lot in this original draft. There's some notes. But when Mrs. Peacock, this is what I was looking for a second ago, when Mrs. Peacock is talking, her feathery hat kind of comes over her face.
Right.
And she has to adjust it. Again, I was like, there's no way that's a scripted moment. Right?
No, I think that's totally because the costume, which Michael Kaplan designed around the jittery kind of performance of Eileen Brennan as Mrs. Peacock. And so when she moves, the feathers are always like a little couple seconds behind. And in this particular one, when she gets super frantic, that hat just becomes her enemy. And that's what she's fighting to defeat, to make her point. And that's when Madeline Kahn as Mrs. White is just giving her the look like, what is wrong with you?
The hat does become her enemy. That's a great point. Like, she is battling this hat that is preventing her from being her most wiggly self.
Yeah, but it's the most character-driven thing of any of the costumes because of the feathers. She's Mrs. Peacock.
She's Mrs. Peacock, but they're not peacock feathers.
No, can you imagine? They'd be huge.
They would be huge. But the lining of the jacket or the coat of Mrs. White is white.
It is. It's lovely, and they do take a special moment too.
It's very pretty. But we're going backward now.
Way back.
Last thing, really, I mean, that stuck out to me about this minute, although I would question, again, Wadsworth completely in this whole thing of you want to lock the weapons up. You seem very
I'll just
fishy.
hold on to the key.
Y'all hold on to the key.
He had no intention of getting rid of the key.
No.
It's because he got challenged. And then the motorist just shows up, like, right on time.
And again, we've talked about the motorist. The motorist shows up here. Now, about the motorist, what do we know about him to this moment? Nothing, correct?
He is a total stranger that he's going to basically tell us in the next minute who he is and why he's there. I guess now's as good time as any to mention that the actor is Jeffrey Kramer, who is best known as Hendrix from Jaws.
Yeah.
And one of the few actors that came back in Jaws Deuce and actually had a bigger part. And then he had another movie that he was in that was out in theaters the exact same time as Clue and actually did a little bit better, was Santa Claus the movie. He's in that as well.
Santa Claus the movie?
Dudley Moore. John Lithgow plays evil.
I have not seen Santa Claus the movie.
Yeah,
Excuse
Santa
me.
Claus the movie. It's from the producers of Superman.
The Salkinds. Right?
Salkinds.
Salkinds.
Those terrible, terrible Salkinds.
Yeah. What they did to Richard Donner. Ugh, can't believe it. Let me read this, though, from the original draft of the script, if I may.
We have this. We should have this every time.
I know. I don't know why I'm just thinking of this. This comes right after Wadsworth says, all right, I am. I'm shouting, I'm shouting, I'm shouting, right?
You just made it French.
Look at that.
Was that because of the candlestick and it made you think of Beauty and the Beast?
Oh, tales as old as time. Songs as old as rhyme. So here we go. Right after that happens, it says exterior, the road. The rain is still pelting, rumbling thunder, racing clouds. A car is driven down the twisting road near the gates. It is going fast. The CV close-up. The motorist at the wheel, tense, worried. Exterior angle. The car is going too fast. It races round a bend, and a cat leaps out into the beam of the headlights. The motorist swerves to avoid it, and the car skids. Then it cuts back interior, the study, and that is where we then see them handling the body of the cook.
Wow.
What do you feel about
I don't know
this?
if they shot that or not. They seem to do a lot of because Mr. Body originally had an entrance shot of him coming through the front door, and they didn't use that. They stay. It's almost like Jonathan Lynn, or maybe it was even a note from the studio, told them to kind of open up the movie and try to make it not so contained in the house and make it feel like a play. And so they shot things to go outside and then didn't use them. So that's interesting. The old cat jumping out in the middle of the road routine. I don't know if they shot that or not. John Hatch would know.
Well, you know what? I don't know if I have his email. So I'll ask the email this time. How about that? But
he follows us pretty close on the old social medias. So
well, Jonathan, look, Hatch, page 55, scene 49. Look at it for me. Tell me what you think.
Thanks, buddy.
But now, should we pick up with Jeffrey Kramer in the next minute? Because he hasn't really said much. He just ducks.
Yeah.
So should we 42 it?
Yeah, we'll 42 it.
Well, before we wrap up,
sure.
Let's remind everybody at the time that you're hearing this, if you're listening on August the 7th, August the 8th, you can stream on Screenbox Whodunit, the Clue documentary.
True.
And you can also get it on iTunes, Amazon Prime. I'm a Prime guy. I'm not going to lie to you. So I'm probably going to Prime it.
Okay.
But I encourage everyone, if you're a horror fan, Screenbox is a great streaming service for horror fans and general fans of kind of the fun genre of 80s. And there's a lot of cool old documentaries on there and some real cool stuff you can watch.
That's true. A documentary series is about to come out this month about the making of RoboCop called RoboDoc. And then a couple months ago, there's a documentary about Robert Englund called Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares. It's also the home of Living with Chucky, which is about child's play movies. And it's also the home of Pennywise, the documentary about the miniseries It. That includes interviews with Tim Curry. Good for them.
Tim Curry, man. Well,
that's right.
Well, you have two documentaries on Screenbox dealing with movies or television series that Tim Curry was in. One of them featured Tim Curry, and the other one is the better one. So there you go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I don't know what you just said, but it's fine.
It's all right, good. Well, anyway,
He's trying to help, which I appreciate.
We're gonna get back.
He's all help I can get.
We're gonna look. We're just gonna jump forward now. We're gonna go to minute 42. Yeah. Jeff, appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. And we're gonna be back.
So next week we'll be talking about how successful the release was.
We are, and we're going to be talking also about minute 42 of this great film. We'll be seeing you next week for the movie podcast.